Welcome to Drill Down Earnings. We have quarterly results from Applied Micro Devices. You know it as AMD. I know it as one business with one stock that's on the move. Here's the story from Chief Market Strategist Cory Johnson of Epistrophy Research. That's me. AMD Q4 earnings. Wall Street likes a beat or a miss and can't think beyond that. So sure, this is kind of a beat. 7.7 billion in revenues over the 7.5 billion expectation, earnings per share right in line. But let's dig a little bit deeper, try to understand what's going on here with AMD. If NVIDIA is going to get competition from anyone, it's going to be AMD, and it could be happening right now. And is it? Not so sure. So 21% revenue growth on a year-over-year basis would normally be great for AMD, but it's a little less than last quarter. And it was kind of the general direction of up. This time it was a little bit down. And it's concerning, as I mentioned, $7.7 billion in margins, in revenues. Great. 51% gross margins. That's fantastic. Intel would kill for that right now. But a net income of $482 million, a very profitable quarter for this company. But the real concern in the quarter, the reason the stock is selling off, and I'll get to that, is the data center business, which is the biggest business at AMD. It's cooling off. It's growing at 80%, which is great, but that was over 140% year-over-year growth last quarter. So with 21% growth in revenues and 80% growth in their data center business, maybe that's not as exciting enough as this fantastic AI, Katie bar the door. It's like growth in AI isn't really happening. Now their PC business still very important, and that has turned up actually 50% growth on a year-over-year basis. In fact, growing so much faster than the rest of the PC business. There were some questions in the conference call as to whether or not there's an inventory buildup going. Maybe there were some advance orders ahead of tariffs. Lisa Su, the CEO, said on the conference call that is not the case. They didn't see tariff-related activity of Chinese manufacturers ordering AMD chips so they could get them before the tariffs happen or whatever, moving those chips around borders before Trump came into office. That's President Trump. Tariffs did not seem to, or threats of tariffs did not seem to show up in the quarter, according to the CEO of AMD. And their gaming business in utter collapse. Gaming just, across the board. NVIDIA says the same thing, but negative 73% change in revenues in their gaming business and the year-over-year business, which is another way of saying this is a data center story. Yeah, their client business or PC business was 29% of revenues, but 55% of revenues for Applied Micro Devices is in data centers. And when you look at the overall picture of revenues, I made this pretty chart for those of you listening to the podcast. You can't see it, but on YouTube you can see it. If you check this out on YouTube and subscribe, and I strongly encourage that. On YouTube you can see this beautiful chart that shows this data center revenue going from less than 20% of the business 3 years ago to well over 50%, eclipsing everything else, especially gaming and even embedded revenues. And AI is the driver there in data center growth. It has come to the rescue of this company and really seen them grow revenues, but maybe not as fast as someone hoped this quarter. So the stock in after-hours trading down 8%. And in fact, for the year, this great year for AMD, the stock is down by a third, down 33%. Now, on the conference call, there were specific questions asked about, have things changed? Has the outlook changed during the course of the last 13 weeks or even the last, 4 or 5 weeks since the quarter ended? And CEO Lisa Su, so impressive, said no, it hasn't. She talked about some specific products, their Instinct MI 300 series and their MI 325X GPU. They call them accelerators because it's a chip in an accelerator card, and they sell the kind of entire card, which includes the GPU, the graphic processor unit, the accelerator card, and that helps things like artificial intelligence and machine learning workloads and any kind of high performance computing, but it's really all about AI. So when asked if the shape of the curve of growth has shifted later in the year from the middle of the year, the CEO of AMD, Lisa Su, said no, it's going to happen in the middle of the year. If anything, they believe it even more strongly, more bigly. Here's what she had to say.
From our standpoint, we've gotten incrementally, more positive on the 2025 data center GPU ramp. I think 350 series, what was in second half always, but pulling it into mid-year is a incremental positive. And from a first half, second half statement, as I mentioned, we have some new important AI design wins that are going to be deployed with 300 and 325 in the first half of the year. But with 350 series, we end up with more content. I mean, it's a more powerful GPU. ASPs go up, and you would expect larger deployments that include training and inference in that time frame. So the shape is similar to what we would have expected before.
All right, so what's this all mean? What's your big drill down earnings takeaway, and what's the one number that tells us a whole lot? Well, Applied Micro Devices, AMD, reporting Q4 earnings, and the number to remember is $7.7 billion in revenues, no. 51% gross margins, really good. No. Is it the 21% growth, something of a spending slowdown in AI maybe? No. I think the big number to remember, the drill down earnings bite, the one number that tells us a whole lot, is 80%. The data center business grew at 80%, which is great, but it's slower than it has been, and it's a change in direction of that growth rate. Maybe things aren't always completely up and to the right when it comes to AI. All right, thanks for checking out Drill Down Earnings. I'm Cory Johnson. Check me out at X at Cory TV, and at Drill Down Pod, on TikTok, on Instagram, and certainly on YouTube. Please subscribe.